We've been taught to fear descent, to see it as failure, loss, and a lot of times punishment. But what if descent was never about losing? What if this is the vehicle that leads you through the fire's preparation? Think of it as the womb space where power gestates before it rises. So today we're talking about something most of us have been taught to avoid. You can probably already figure it out, right? We're talking about the descent, the moment where life pulls you under, when you're stripped bare, and when it just feels like you've lost the fight and sometimes even your life. We have been conditioned to see descent as failure, as something to escape, something to pray away, or as something to try to climb out of as fast as possible. But in truth, descent is preparation. Descent is initiation. And descent is where the fire is kindled before it can rise. Welcome back to season 4 of the You Are Immeasurable podcast. I'm your host, Tonesha Hyde, holistic business manager and alchemist, dragonfire energy healer, and revealer of the ancient truths. This space is where shadow work meets the dark feminine, where goddess power awakens in your bones, and where divine alignment becomes not just a way of life, but also how we do business. Together, we'll reclaim our fire, embody our sovereignty, and rise into the immeasurable truth of who we really are. So every Wednesday, a new episode will drop, and there will be bonus sparks of inspiration and special series throughout the season. So go ahead and grab your tea, your coffee, or your glass of wine, and let's journey together, because your power was never meant to be measured. It was meant to be remembered. So across cultures, descent has always been the central piece or the central vehicle to transformation. Think of the stories of Inanna. She's the Sumerian goddess that was stripped of her power as she descended into the underworld to visit with her sister, only to return reborn and crowned anew. There's also the story of Persephone, who was taken by Hades, but returned every spring. And she is the very embodying of the cycle of death and rebirth. Even the story of Christ holds a descent into the tomb, into death, and then after all of that, the resurrection. Descent is not the end of the story. It's actually the turning point, the womb space, the fertile soil where seeds crack open before they can bear fruit. And I know they can be scary. I know they can be painful. And I've had my own descents, several of them, several times throughout my life when everything familiar seemed to just disappear or walk away or fall away. Times when I questioned my worth, I wasn't connected or using my voice, and I completely was at a loss as to what my calling truly was. And in those times, I thought I was losing. I was breaking down. I was dazed and confused. I didn't know which way was up, which way I needed to go. But the truth is, that was me experiencing that breaking open. And I know that a lot of us have these moments, these cycles, these seasons, times when you might have lost a job or a relationship ended, or just experiencing a season where nothing seemed to make sense. But I'm here to tell you that that was not punishment. It was not failure. It was your descent moment. The stripping, the gestation, the quiet fire being prepared during the darkness. And here's another truth. Supremacy doesn't want you or me to understand what descent really is. And that's because when women embrace descent as initiation, we stop seeing ourselves as broken and we start seeing ourselves as being forged, cleansed, renewed. And supremacy strives on keeping us afraid of the dark, ashamed of the underworld, and disconnected from the cycles of death and rebirth. But contrary to popular belief, descent is power. Descent is where you find reclamation. Descent is where the dark feminine begins to whisper, and she'll let you know that you're not lost. You're growing. You're becoming something or someone new. So let's take a moment to kind of reframe this together and understand that descent is not the absence of fire. It's actually the preparation for it. Because when you descend, you're being stripped of what can't go with you. That's things, that's people, situations, circumstances, even your mindset. When you descend, you're making space for the truth that is buried, that is ready to rise. When you descend, you're entering the womb. And we know that the womb is where all the worlds are created. So lovely, understand that descent is not where you lose yourself. Descent is where you meet the real you. So I want to leave you with this, something for you to think about, something for you to meditate on, journal about, and just sit with. Where in your life are you descending right now? And I want you to think about what would happen if you allowed yourself to go with that flow, to experience it and embrace it without fighting it, looking at it from the lens of what is this preparing me for? What is the power or the fire that is being kindled in me? And what is gestating in this descent? And this descent is the very energy that we'll be working with in my upcoming workshop during the autumn equinox. The workshop is entitled Eve, the Serpent, and the Wound of Supremacy. And we're doing this. We're going into the fire. We're stepping up and tapping into the serpent energy because we now realize that descent isn't the end. It's the initiation. And so if your spirit knows it's time, then please come join me. Come join us. The link to register will be in the show notes or in the comments. And until next time, please remember that descent is not lost. It is the preparation for your immeasurable rise. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the You Are Immeasurable podcast. My prayer is that something in today's conversation sparked a remembering or a shift and maybe a softening in your soul. If you love this episode, please share it with someone who also needs this medicine, and make sure you're following the show so that you never miss a new activation. Also, come connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, or even TikTok. My handle on all social media platforms is @Agitator Hyde. Also, I want you to know that my DMs are always open if you want to go deeper, if you have questions, or you just want to share what listening to the podcast has unfolded for you. Beyond anything, I want you to remember that your power, your path, and your purpose are already within you. You are not broken. You're blossoming. You are becoming, and you are immeasurable. So until next time, be well, stay bold, and always stay true to the divine within you.